Welcome into the midweek edition of the Locked On Packers Squad Show. I am your host this evening. I'm not sure about everyone else, but this Packers team hasn't earned the right to rest their guys in Week 18. I need to see an all-around bounce-back performance, meaningless game or not, out of Green Bay.
I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Packers. I hear what Brandon is saying, but you gotta be healthy if you want to go win a playoff game. And what I want to see from this Packers team is some heart. I want to see some want to. I want them to care about this game, regardless of who is playing.
Man, I'm just going to jump on this. The logistics of having to win a game, not having to win a game, and just finishing it out, it's a challenge.
Go Pack Go! It's the Packers Squad. Everything Green Bay Packers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from Titletown. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the frozen tundra with all the cheeseheads, the Packers Squad Show starts now.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find podcasts, you will certainly find the Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet. And the show for the fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how, as always. Thanks to each and every one of you who has made Locked On Packers your first listen each and every single day. Well, gentlemen, it is here. The regular season finale officially upon us. Tons to get to tonight, including our keys to a Packers win in Minnesota. We'll dive into the group chat later on. Share what we have been discussing at the end of the show, as we always do on our midweek edition of the Locked On Packers Squad Show. We will give you our extra point of the week and our final score predictions. But, Peter, let me begin with you, if I may. The Vikings have won 4 straight games. The Packers, on the other hand, Peter, have lost 3 straight games. The Vikings season, on one hand, is done after Sunday. The Packers, however, it is not. As it sits in this very moment, our friends over at FanDuel have the Packers as 5.5-point underdogs. We don't know who's playing for Green Bay. Quite frankly, we don't know who is playing for Minnesota either. But my question for you is pretty simple. How important is it for Green Bay to get back on track in Week 18 heading into the postseason?
That's a good question in that, how do you get back on track? And I would love to throw this right to Coach. How do you get back on track in a game that really means nothing for you and that a bunch of key players are going to sit? How do you find meaning? How do you find value as a coaching staff, as a team? Like, there are still guys that are going to have to go out. And guys, you know this, Coach, you know this better than anybody on this panel. Your resume is your tape. That's all you have. And this is not a game you can play half-assed. You'll get hurt trying to play 50% in a regular season game. You just can't do it. So the guys that are going out there have to play. And that's what I want to see. I want to see them care. I want to see the guys that are out there care, because, Coach, we didn't get a chance to get this information when we did our squad show after the game on Saturday night. But Kingsley Enagbare, after the game, addressed the locker room and said, I did not see a group of guys that left it all out on the field. And so regardless of who plays, to me, I want to see a group of guys who give a you-know-what, who give a rip about the game. I want to see the hunger. I want to see that intensity from whoever is out there, because we've talked about this. Coach, you mentioned it last week. They don't have enough guys to hockey line this. They don't have enough guys.
They really don't.
To not play. This is not a preseason game where you've got 100 guys on the roster and you can rest 25 guys. Like, their starters are going to play in this game, some of them, and they have to. So I want to see that intensity. I want to see some get back a little bit, even if it's just the first half from some of these guys.
Yeah. So what are you trying to treat this as a preseason game, Peter? Like a late preseason game?
Well, maybe like, but Coach, more like when you were like, it's been a while since the preseason has mattered, but like,
right.
You think about, earlier in your career, maybe the Brett Favre era, that third preseason game, that was the one that mattered. When your starters played a half, 3 quarters,
right.
I feel like that's what we're going to, like, we might see Malik Willis for a half and then Clayton Tune for a half.
Right.
Then the second half is not going to mean that much other than guys trying to win jobs for next year. But I want to see the guys in the first half that are going to play.
Yeah.
I want to see them care. I want to see them hit. I want to see them run. I want to see them fly around.
So I remember we used to, it's different because I've been in both these situations where at the end of the season, the game just doesn't even matter. I mean, like Minnesota, they're going like, you know what, guys, we need to play 60 minutes. Let's not get anybody hurt. And I'm sure McConnell's deal is like, hey, we're going to play for pride. This is our bowl game, right? Back in the college days. And the thing is, like, the numbers just aren't there like in preseason, though, Peter. There's 53 guys, and there's 45, 46 up on game day.
Right.
Who do you want to sit? I mean, I think that's the biggest challenge. And it looks like Love's not going to play. Is that right? Ish.
Still hasn't cleared concussion protocol. It's early in the week. Obviously, it's Tuesday that we're doing the show, so there's still plenty of time for him to clear that, Coach, but he has not cleared.
I don't want to jump the gun too much on this, Brandon, because I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But Coach, like, how worried? I think this is probably the most important thing right off the top because it's the thing that matters the most in the postseason. How much do you worry about rust with Jordan Love?
I don't want Jordan. Do I want to rush him back? Absolutely.
No. How much do you worry about rust? Like, if he's not going to play.
No, I'm not.
He won't have played Saturday. Like, he won't have played most of Saturday, and he won't have played any of the final week. Are you worried at all about rust?
No. And do you know why? And again, it's crazy how fast this season's gone. But do you remember in the going into the first Detroit game? Like, is he going to be okay? He's like,
right.
And he played great. No, so he's played enough football where there's no rust. There's just not. He's a pro, and he was at some point during the season, at the end of the season here, the last maybe 3-4 weeks ago, he was one of the top quarterbacks in the league. His numbers were great.
Third in MVP odds 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and isn't that crazy? And all of a sudden, we're talking about, like, is he going to be okay playing in the playoffs? He's going to be more than okay.
We had a member of the press corps in the room ask if Malik Willis should be the starting quarterback. Like, we have jumped the shark with some of this stuff.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Brandon is trying to keep it together over there.
I know, Brandon. It wasn't you that asked that, right?
It was. I can confirm, okay, Coach. It was.
I never call you an idiot.
Brandon,
I love Malik Willis.
Friend thought of that question. I want to know. Come on, I know he had some thoughts.
Hey, Brandon, you know I love you, but no, he's not that. He's not that guy.
But I love Malik, but it was not my question.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad that wasn't, because it was a stupid question. If it was asked, and I'm glad it wasn't. And I'm glad it wasn't by you. So, but here's the thing: McConnell's got his own challenges with the Minnesota team, because the game doesn't mean absolutely anything for those guys. And the last thing anybody wants to do, especially McConnell, is get any of his players hurt. Where, like what happened with Watson last year, it's like
terrible.
He would go like, this is absolutely crazy. So he's got the same challenges, but in a different way. This game right here for the Packers is like a preseason game. It really is, in the fact that if we win it, okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We already know where we're seated in the seventh tier. Yeah, and we already know that we're either going to play Minnesota or we're going to play Chicago or Philadelphia. So what town are we going to go to? I would hope it would be Chicago. I really, really do.
Same.
I do, because we're better than Chicago. We didn't.
I mean, you guys remember on the Saturday show, we talked about this late in the game, and I said, if it's Chicago, let me at them. Let me at them.
Yeah, because here's the deal: the defense played 55 minutes that was like championship football.
Maybe 58 minutes, yeah.
I know, right? And the onside kick and all that, whatever. But sometimes it's like, that's the way it's supposed to be lined up. I hope we play Chicago in the deal, because it'll be a great game. It's a rivalry game. Hey, it's a rubber game. So anyways, I hope we play Chicago, but the thing is, LaFleur he's really have to do a juggling act. It's like, who should we play and who can we keep out? Because the game doesn't matter who wins or loses. It just doesn't right now, because we're already in the dance.
Brandon, I think it's also easy to forget last year in the first half of the last game of the season, we think about the Christian Watson ACL injury. Jordan Love was knocked out of that game. Jordan Love didn't play really most of the last week. Now, I know he practiced. He started that game, but it was really like he didn't play that game almost at all, and he was hurt heading into that Eagles game. You would much rather have a healthy Jordan Love. If you could give me any healthy player on this team other than Micah Parsons, right? A guy that has a chance to play in the wild card game, the number one guy on anyone's list is going to be Jordan Love. You need to have that guy healthy. And so I don't think there's anyone has any illusions about Jordan Love playing in this game. I think the question after that, Brandon, is Malik Willis. Like, would you play Malik Willis, Brandon, if you were Matt LaFleur?
Yeah, I would. I would have no problem whatsoever playing Malik Willis, especially since what we saw on Saturday against Baltimore. He reportedly was good to come back into the game after going to the locker room, getting the shoulder checked out. So he was, it seemed by all accounts, Peter, he was good to go back into the game. But I think
that Toradol shot wore off.
I think it probably probably helped him out pretty quickly. Let me throw this at you guys though, because this is the issue I have with this rest versus the rust and who should play, who should not play.
God, I hate that. I hate it, Coach.
There's so many games,
Coach. From a coaching standpoint, Brandon, I hate to preempt you on this, but like, is that a thing that actually is a conversation in the coaching room, rest versus rust, or is that just something that us dweebs talk about in the media?
No, guys, you know how many snaps were taken this season? There's like this 17 games.
Yeah, hundreds.
There's no rust after like 10, 14 days. No, absolutely not, because they're still going to be practicing. Here's the thing. If I'm Brandon, if I'm Malik, I can't wait to get back out of here, because if I can get numbers again, I'm getting bag.
Yeah, that's why
I'm getting like serious bag on that deal. It's like, please just let me get out there.
Got 2 for 40. Like, Malik Willis can't get that in the pre. Like, I have to think that this
Would
is.
Would you love to be him, Peter?
I mean, look, yeah, of course. I mean, I'd love to get $40 million. That would be great. David Locke.
Yeah, I would 400,000 you'd be okay with.
Yeah, totally.
Well, and I think if I on the other side, Peter, if I'm Malik Willis, I'm going to Matt LaFleur and Matt and
put me in, Coach.
Malik Willis said it in the locker room, said your tape is your resume, because he was asked, what do you need to do to prove to other teams that you can be the quarterback for their organization when you enter free agency? And he said, my tape is my resume. But let me ask you guys this, because I think there's some validity to this. And I'm the least ball knower on the show. And Coach, you've been there. Peter, you cover it for the Leap. I don't know how I feel as a Packer fan, you guys, going into the postseason with 4 straight losses. I'm not saying Week 18 is a must-win game, but my confidence level as a Packer fan would be very, very low, whether it's in Chicago, whether it's in Philly, knowing that my football team in the wild card weekend hasn't won a game in a month, because that's what it's going to be roughly the last time the Green Bay Packers have won a game going into from the regular season going into the postseason.
So they've actually, and Jags will appreciate this, they've done some studies on this. Our friends over at Football Outsiders, now FTN Fantasy, have done some studies on this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you back into the playoffs, if you lose 3 straight, but going into the playoffs, or 4 would be a lot, of course, a month of losing football. But we've seen enough. Jags said it. Like, this is a long season. We've seen this Packers team over the course of the season be really good. They were thinking, just think about this, guys. They come out on Thanksgiving. They beat the Lions in impressive fashion. They beat the Bears in impressive fashion, and they are on their way to beating down the Denver Broncos, the team that is the number 1 seed in the AFC, until injuries just avalanche on this team. That team is going to play outside of Micah Parsons. That team with Evan Williams, with Zach Tom, probably with Jordan Love, that team is going to play in the wild card round. And I think we have to remember that part of this. And I know Micah Parsons is a great player, and he's going to have a big impact on this team, if he's on the field or not. But this team is really, really still very good. It's really well coached. And we saw last year, they had a great plan defensively, especially for that Eagles team. I think, especially against the team they've played twice, if it's the Bears or it's the Eagles, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. And they're going to have played this team multiple times in the last calendar year. They're going to have a game plan ready to go. They're going to know what they want to do. Matt LaFleur, Jeff Hafley, those guys are going to know what they think is going to work in these games. It's not like they're playing the Seahawks, which is a totally different, animal. We'll see. They get to, if they win, in the first round, they'll probably play Seattle in round 2 with San Francisco. We'll see. I guess that last game. I think it's going to be Seattle. It's just a different thing. And I wouldn't be that worried about that stuff.
Coach, your time in Green Bay, I think it still is relevant. Winning the division was always very important. Usually the first thing that you guys put up on the board. The Packers obviously can't do that this year. The Bears already clinching the division. But, Coach, this Packers team was 1-5 versus the NFC North a season ago. And quite frankly, literally a fingertip away from being 0-6 in the NFC North. That was a talking point all offseason amongst Packer fans, the media, even the Packers themselves talking about it. Right now, they're 4-1 in the NFC North. They have an opportunity to literally turn that record around on Sunday when they face the Minnesota Vikings in Week 18 and go 5-1 in the NFC North this season. Now, the game itself means nothing, but is it important, Coach, that it is a divisional game to take that momentum, and it's something you can build off of going into next year with another win against an NFC North opponent?
Yeah, I always think that it's bragging rights. I mean, anytime you're playing in your division, you want to be competitive, and we were competitive all year round. I mean, and then Chicago beat us last play of the game, guys, right? Could be 5 for 5, right? So they always want to be competitive, and Green Bay is as good as any team in this division, and they've already showed that because they've beaten every team in this division, right? And I hope we're going back to Chicago. I really do, because I think being down there, there's gonna be a chip on their shoulder. Like, you know what? You beat us on the last play of the game. We didn't play a full game because they beat us on the last play of the game. But I would like a shot at those guys again. I really would.
And it's looking like it could be a big possibility for the Green Bay Packers as they enter the regular season finale with the wild card on the horizon. I want to keep it within this Packers team, Peter, and there's been a lot of discourse, a lot of discussion surrounding Packers head coach Matt LaFleur. Is he coaching for his job in Week 18 and beyond? Is he not coaching for his job this week and beyond? What are your thoughts on the job LaFleur has done this season overall, considering all of the injuries? We talked about the NFC North, how he's kind of turned things around. The Packers navigating a lot of uncertainty, acquiring Micah Parsons late into the summer, but into, getting him acclimated into the regular season and really turning the defense around as far as the pass rusher goes. How would you grade Matt LaFleur as we get set for the postseason?
Coach?
I tell you what he's done. He's won during the year, but the thing what counts is in the postseason. And I mean, he does. He's got a great record as a Packer coach. What was it? One of the best that's out there.
Second best. Yep.
Second best that's ever been there. So then the guy knows how to win. But what counts is the postseason and what you do in the postseason. Nobody gives a crap if we beat Detroit the first game of the year. People don't care about that.
Not anymore.
They don't care if we lost Denver. They don't care they don't care. What people care about is in the postseason. And the thing is, though, we got a ticket to the dance, right? So we're still in a chance to compete in the postseason, but he's got to start making some hay in the postseason. That's what I think.
I think the answer to Coach's point is incomplete. Like they could have been better this regular season. I think there's no doubt about that. You lost some games that you probably should have won against Cleveland, against Carolina. You should have beat the Cowboys in Dallas. But you're ultimately measured. We talked about this coming into the year. You are measured by what you do in January. And by the time this game kicks off, it will be January. So, okay, can you get this team of, a lot of backups ready to play? And then what can you do? Like, you go to Chicago, someone was asking me, a friend was asking me, like, if LaFleur, is he really on the hot seat? And I said, no, but if you go to Chicago or Philly and get embarrassed, then I think we start having conversations. Now, I think if they go to Chicago, they will win. We will be here in a week, and I will pick Green Bay to beat the Bears if that is where we are in a week. I don't know if I can say that about Philly. But if you go into Philly and you play a 17-14, grind it out, knockdown, drag out fight against a team that, has a chance to go to the NFC Championship game or more, the defending Super Bowl champions, I don't know that anyone's going to hang that on Matt LaFleur with Tucker Kraft out, with Micah Parsons out, with all the injuries that this team has had. I just don't I know there's no excuses.
Nope.
But at the same time, like, when you don't have two of your key guys, that's tough. On the other hand, we watched, I don't know if you guys watched, but I watched Sunday night,
Yep.
a 49ers team without Nick Bosa and without Fred Warner two of the best players of their generation. Like Tucker Kraft might get there. He's not there yet. And they beat the Bears, and they have a chance to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. That's what makes Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh an elite duo. That's what makes that 49ers team over the last half decade the team in the NFC over the last half decade, even though they haven't won a Super Bowl. This team needs to prove it in the postseason, and we haven't seen it. Now, all that being said, they have not lost a game in the postseason in Jordan Love's career in which they were favorites. And so that's a different thing too. Like they
also haven't been favored.
Well, that's what I mean. So they were 7-point underdogs to the Cowboys and won. I believe they were 5-point underdogs to the 49ers, 5.5, 6 to the 49ers. And they gave that 49er team everything they could handle. And then I think they were plus 5.5 against the Eagles, if my memory serves me, against Philly. And then they lost half their team in the game. Elton Jenkins goes down on the first series. Christian Watson tore his ACL the week before. You lose Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs in the game. And it's like, okay, well, what else is Jordan Love supposed to do? What is Matt LaFleur supposed to do? It's hard for me to hang those losses on him. But 2020, different situation. 2021, different situation. And so now the full body of work has to come into the picture. And I think that in the postseason, I want to see Matt LaFleur get this team ready to go. I want to get this team ready to play from the rip. And that's the next step in Matt LaFleur's evolution. And frankly, guys, it's the next step in the Jordan Love evolution. If Aaron Rodgers were the quarterback, young Aaron Rodgers, we'd be going into whatever game they're playing in the wild card run and go, they have a chance to win because they have Aaron Rodgers. And I think Jordan Love has got to that level as a quarterback. But we got to see it. We got to see it in a situation where, like that 2016 game against Dallas, that Aaron Rodgers won basically by himself, right? We haven't seen Jordan Love put together a playoff game like that yet. And if that's on the table, and I think it is, then we start having a different conversation, I think, about Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love.
Coach, the Packers getting set to take on the Vikings in a Week 18. It is a meaningless game. The Vikings, as we mentioned, out of the playoffs. The Packers, however, are not. You've been a part of teams where the last game of the regular season really didn't mean a ton. What are the challenges with preparing a team for a quote unquote meaningless game when everything's kind of sort of locked up for, well, I shouldn't say kind of sort of, it is all locked up for both teams. What's it like to prepare for these games? What's it like in the building? Like, how do you get your guys to focus in at the task at hand, but knowing there's still an ultimate goal with the playoffs looming on the other side?
Right. Just one thing I wanted to add to your deal, Peter.
Yeah.
Is, and I've mentioned this before, and I was told this many times in my career. Football doesn't care. They don't care if you're hurt. They don't care. I mean, they don't know. There's not one team that goes, God, the Packers are kind of hurting right now. Or no one would say, hey, San Francisco's kind of hurting right now.
San Francisco they've had more injuries than the Green.
Right. I mean, but anyway, so that part, football doesn't care. If I'm getting this team ready to play, I'm going to say, the last 3 weeks isn't really what we're all about. We're the Green Bay Packers, and we still have a game left. And all we are about around here is winning football games. And we're going to win football games, and it doesn't matter who the hell's playing out there. It just doesn't matter because everybody's wearing green and gold, and you guys have to step up. If you're asked to step up, you need to step up. You know why? Because your ass is getting paid a lot of money. There's not one guy out there. I mean, I'd like, Peter, you said you take $400K. Brandon, maybe 40,000. Would you take 40,000?
Take $40 at this point.
I would too. Hell, I take 4,000 right now. But anyway, everybody's a pro, and it's still a rivalry game. Minnesota's still right. I'm living up in La Crosse. I'm right on the border. It's a big damn deal. It's a big damn deal to Minnesota. It's a big damn deal to Green Bay. So they just got to get ready to play. And if your number's called, you got to step up and produce. You're a pro football player. There's what, 0.5% of 1% of all players that play pro football. That's all there is. So you need to go compete.
Peter, I know you mentioned, the stats of not backing into the postseason. What would it mean though, when this Vikings team, it's kind of been disastrous for them, right? JJ McCarthy, we don't know if he's going to play with a hand injury or not. They could end.
They want him to play. If
they want him to play, but they
want him
could
to go.
end the regular season with the same amount of wins as the Green Bay Packers if they beat Green Bay on Sunday. Does that say more about the Vikings or say more about the Packers? And how do we feel about that if that does come to fruition on Sunday? I don't know about you, Coach, but I think if the Green Bay Packers leave the regular season with the same amount of wins as the Minnesota Vikings, who, by all accounts, really, I think the Packers ended their season, and it felt like at the third week in November, and you finish with the same amount of wins, but you're still like, hey, we're still going to the postseason. I don't feel great about that. There's got to be got to be something.
Yeah. So what's interesting is it had the Packers that tie, right? If the Cowboys win that game, this game would have been for the 7th seed.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. And so, I think that tells you a lot about these two teams, right? Like, given all the issues that quarterback situation, JJ McCarthy has been terrible this year. Max Rosemer has been terrible this year, and they found ways to win. And so that tells you a lot about the coaching there. That tells you about the roster there, the high-end talent that they have. Now, do I think it matters in the postseason? No, I don't. In the grand scheme of things, I think it is great fodder for a show like this. I think it's great. It's great fodder for drive time radio. But ultimately, I don't think it matters that much. Like, even if the Packers lose and they go 9-7,
9-7-1. Yep.
They're the 7th seed. So, if you go and you beat Chicago or you go and you beat Philly, who cares? Like, like 2023,
True.
that Packers team, they were 9-8. But by the end of the season, they were playing as well as any team in the NFL. Now that team is on a different trajectory than this current team is. But we know what this current team is capable of doing. We know what this current team is capable of putting on the field every week. Now, we also know that they are capable of tripping over their dicks and like making the dumbest mistakes possible and all those things.
Stepping on rakes.
And stepping on rakes. Every rake they find, they want to step on. And going back to your question earlier, Brandon, I think it's a good one. I've struggled. We talked about this on Locked On Packers for our Thursday show. Or what is today? Tuesday? Yeah, for our Wednesday show. That the pattern of behavior for the Packers in the games that they have lost, where you just go, how could you lose that game? Is they've beaten themselves. And that is a reflection, I think, of coaching, where you, like, Bill Belichick's thing always was, we'll let the other teams make all the mistakes. Let them beat themselves, and we'll just get out of the way. We'll just like, hey guys, you go lose the game for yourself. We won't make those stupid mistakes, and we'll win. And so I don't know specifically. I can't point to anything in practice or in preparations or anything like that says, hey, this is why this team ends up being the way that they are. But I know ultimately what I see on the field is a team that is capable of beating themselves in ways that no other team is. Like, no one beats the Packers like the Packers. We've talked how many times, guys, have we been on this show talking about that. That is the frustrating part of this team. And I don't think it matters in week 18, but I'll tell you where it damn sure does matter is the wild card game. And so you can't have another performance like that, or we do start to ask serious questions about the future of this coaching staff.
Can I throw a rake in this? Can I throw a rake down here?
Absolutely.
All right. I'm just going to LaFleur, McConnell. Who do you want?
Matt LaFleur.
Who do you want coaching your team this Sunday?
Matt LaFleur is 3-4 versus Kevin O'Connell, for what it's worth.
Okay. So Peter, what? And again, that's just a hypothetical, but
no, I mean, it's tough, man. It really is.
Who do you want coaching your football team on Sunday? Because a game doesn't mean anything to anybody.
I think my answer is Kevin O'Connell.
Oh my goodness! I didn't think you'd say that, but he's a good football coach. So
we'll bookmark
it. It really is. No, it's actually like I can't remember
right?
a time when the balance of coaching power in the NFC North, you go back to the NFC Central, look like this. I can't remember a time when there were no patsies. Like for my whole adult life, and going back to when I was a child, my whole sentient life, there was always one or two coaches where you're just like, no, that guy sucks, right? Or, that team, it doesn't matter. They're just not good enough. And there were plenty, like Rod Marinelli, and there were plenty of seasons whether it was mostly Detroit, right, for most of our lives.
Wayne Fontes.
But and Dick Duran and
Mariucci.
And there are plenty, Mariucci, who, God bless him, former Packers coach.
Yep.
But like,
Matt
those teams
Patricia.
I know there's a bunch of them, right?
Those teams were just not very good. And you go back to the Vikings, like Brad Childress, those teams won some games, but you just knew at the end of a big game, he was going to screw up the clock. He was going to screw up the timeouts. He was going to call a bonehead play. Like I was never scared of Brad Childress ever in my life. So this is just a different thing. Like I think Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, that's like 4 of the best 10 coaches in the NFL.
Good.
And so that's what makes this so tough. And you know, you're going to have to go on the road and you're going to have to probably play Ben Johnson in a playoff game like that. You'd much rather it be Dick Duran in a moment like that. You'd much rather it be, I thought Lovie Smith, probably an underrated coach in the annals of history, but you'd much rather it be Lovie Smith than Ben Johnson right now. And that's just where the Packers find themselves right now. And Matt LaFleur, if he wants to keep his job, you got to keep pace with the Joneses. Like this has always been the deal in Green Bay. You have to win the North. And I think it's been a little overstated, Coach. This like, oh, every team has won the North since the Packers have won the North. Okay, well, every team has also missed the playoffs since the Packers have last missed the playoffs. And I think that that's an important thing to point out here too. This team, the Packers have been for, again, my entire sentient life. They've never had a 3 or 4 year stretch where they just stunk. It's never happened. It's never happened. And there's like 2 other teams in the NFL who can say that. It's like the Steelers and like kind of the Patriots. That's it. So we're talking about the best franchise in the sport over the last 30 years. But that doesn't get you Lombardi trophies. And that's how this team is measured. That is the standard. Coach, you talk about the standard all the time. Yeah. That is the standard in Green Bay.
You know, one of the things I wanted to, and I saw this and I was like, God, that's got to be true. How many losses in Lambeau and how many losses for Mike Holmgren? It was like, oh my God.
I gave you this stat on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Tell me it again, because it was like, because I remember we rarely lost. I mean, we didn't lose very often in Lambeau.
Ever.
If Favre played good, you won. If Favre didn't play good, it was a toss-up.
I think I don't have it in front of me anymore, but Mike Holmgren had like 7 losses at Lambeau in like 7 years, and Matt LaFleur, I think in the Jordan Love era, has already lost that many. So that it's a number like that. I wish I had it in front of me, but yeah,
not to throw this in there, Coach, but I got to, because Favre was also part of the reason that Lambeau lost the mystique. He was at that game.
I was in Atlanta. I was there. I was at that game in a sideline.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, you're right. I don't disagree. But Favre, it was also the beginning of the downfall.
Did Atlanta know? Did the Falcons know? Did you guys know? Like, we got a really good shot to beat the crap out of this team, or no?
We did, because I think we might have played them earlier. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look.
I think we did. And I'll tell you this, like, that was the first home playoff deal I think ever in Lambeau. And I remember Mike Sherman, he disappeared for about a month. It's like, where the hell's Mike? he did. He was super embarrassed about it. But
I'll never forgive TJ Duckett for that.
Yeah, TJ was a hell of a back, man.
He was.
And Warwick Dunn. Those guys,
I can't imagine wanting to tackle that guy if it's 25 degrees outside. I mean, it just can't. Not unlike Derrick Henry last week when Quay Walker looked like he wanted no part of Derrick Henry.
Nobody wanted any part of Derrick Henry.
When I tell you what, I was a line coach down in Atlanta when I had both those guys and Mike Vick in the backfield. We led the league in rushing. Ended up going to the NFC Championship game against Philadelphia.
Yep.
Ended up losing in the snow, but crazy profession.
Do you see any of Vic and Malik?
No, we're not even close.
No,
not even close. I mean, Vic was, that kid on the playground, Peter, that you could never tag.
Yeah. That
was him. And the thing is, they would always go, how fast is Vic? I go, he's as fast as he wants to be. I remember him running down the sideline one time. I go, oh, God, how fast is that guy? But he was as fast as he had to be.
I think prime Michael Vick was the fastest player in the NFL.
He was electric. That's for damn sure.
He also had the coolest commercials out there with the Michael Vick experience. The Packers, on the other hand, they will look for a much needed bounce back performance this weekend as they get set to take on the Vikings in Minnesota to put a bow on their regular season before the wild card round begins. How can they get that win? We share our keys to a Packers victory coming up right after this. Today's Locked On Packers midweek squad edition show is brought to you by Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. And that is exactly where Gusto comes in. They take the stress out of the payroll, out of the benefits, out of the HR, so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. It's an all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring or onboarding or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or the hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprises, no surprise charges at the end of the month. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnfl, and you get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. Once again, 3 months free of payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnfl. One more time, that's gusto.com/lockedonnfl. Thank you for making Locked On Packers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. The Packers, as we mentioned, they will take on those Vikings in Minnesota in Week 18. And each week, we love to share our keys to getting a victory for our Green Bay Packers. Peter, I'll start with you. Your 3 keys this week against, we mentioned his name before, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach for the Vikings, those NFC North rivals. How can the Packers get a Week 18 victory on Sunday?
Well, first of all, I think they have to care about winning. That's where it starts. And I
don't like to hear that with a team getting ready for the postseason.
Well, they might not. And that's the thing. And so like some of this becomes an exercise in futility, right? Like maybe they don't care about winning that much. But I still, this starts with, what I talked about off the top. I want to see a team that cares. And if they lose because Clayton Tune has to play 3 quarters in this game, like fine. But I want to see the offensive line moving bodies. If and when, like the quote unquote starting guys are out there, I want to see, the defense flying around. They don't have enough defensive bodies to not play some of their starters. They're going to have to play a decent number of their starters. And so I want to see those guys flying around. I want to see them flying to the ball. I want to see them playing like it mattered to them that they were embarrassing on Saturday night. That's what I want to see. And then I want to see some explosive plays from this offense. I want to see Matthew Golden. I want to see Savion Williams. I want to see Emmanuel Wilson. The guys that are going to be out there, I want to see those guys make some plays. Bo Melton, let's see it. And like, I think Malik Willis will play well enough. I think Matt LaFleur has to give him some good opportunities. And that's the other part of this, guys. I want to see the coaches say, let's coach to win. It doesn't matter who's out there. Let's coach to win. Let's dial up some blitzes against JJ McCarthy. If that's the guy, if it's Max Brosmer, all the more reason. Let's dial up some blitzes. Let's show some stuff on tape, coach, that other teams are going to have to worry about. They're going to have to think about, oh, they have that. Let's see what that looks like in the postseason. Let's see if they have to prepare for that in the postseason. I want to see this team coach like they care about winning, not just let's get to the wild card game healthy. I want to see a little bit more want to out of this team than that.
This thing is, we always talk about the standard, Peter, Brandon, about that. And, people around the league, they all notice. Everybody knows what everybody else is doing. And if the Packers can come away with it, it's like, God, those guys play hard. It doesn't matter whether they were in it, they weren't in it. And just like, again, the standards, like the Packers play their ass off, and it doesn't matter the circumstance, where they're playing, when they're playing, at what time, whatever country they're in. It doesn't matter. The Packers are always going to play hard. So I think that's a thing. And I think the big challenge is what coaching staff can get their players to play hard for this football game, because it's different, right? It's different, but it's not, right? Packers are good. Minnesota, no, they're going home next week. And so it's going to be interesting. And then it always comes down to big plays. And there's an extra point I'm going to throw out, Brandon. I'm sure you're going to love it, but I'm not going to say it yet. But the turnovers, and we need to start getting more turnovers. And again, you're preparing to play in the playoffs. Minnesota's done. They're not playing anybody, right? They're going home. But Green Bay is still preparing to play in the playoffs. And there's not many teams that are in that situation, but the Packers are in the 7th seed. So keep playing hard, and then explosive plays. Can Malik make some explosive plays and the receivers, whoever's going to be playing, can they make explosive plays? Can they step up and go, yeah, I'm a pro, right? And like I said, the extra points, I want to say it right now, but I'm not going to, Brandon.
Yeah, don't do it yet, Coach. We'll get to it, I promise. One thing I want to add, because I think you guys make fantastic points for your 3 keys for a hopeful Packers victory. Something that I want to make kind of an extra point. It could be my extra point, but I'm going to add it as my key. I have another extra point, is the red zone efficiency or the lack thereof for the Green Bay Packers. The last 3 weeks, you guys, the Packers are 2 for 11 in the red zone. Coming into that Broncos game, they were the best team in the red zone in goal-to-go situations, and you're 2 for 11 over the last 3 weeks. If you go 1 for 4, which we saw them do against the Broncos, 0 for 5 against the Chicago Bears, 1 for 2 against the Ravens, which isn't bad, but you also weren't in the red zone a ton. You do that in the postseason, like your season's going to come to a sudden halt. So the Packers, I think this week, if they get into the red zone against the Minnesota Vikings, I need to see touchdowns, not field goals. Peter, you mentioned it. I want to ask you this real quickly before we move on to our extra points and our final score predictions and into our group chat. If you're the Green Bay Packers, if you're Matt LaFleur, I know this is going to sound a little biased coming from me. I'm force feeding Matthew Golden. I'm getting him going this week against the Minnesota Vikings.
And there you go.
and you know, coach is laughing about it, and I get it.
I totally agree with you, Brandon.
But you want that guy, and not just you want that guy feeling good going into the postseason. You want him feeling good going into the offseason, because guess what? He might not get those opportunities in the playoff game. But you want him locked in the offseason to feeling like, hey, when I come back in the fall, I'm going to be a key part of this offense. And I know in exit interviews, like, coach, you're going to go through some of that stuff. Like, hey, Romeo Doubs probably not going to be back on this roster. And, you know, Christian Watson probably going to get an extension on the extension that he got, given the way that he's played. But I love the way that Watson, Golden, and Reed fit together in this offense. And, you know, like, I'm a big Dontavian Wicks fan, but I just like the speed and the playmaking that those 3 guys can bring to bear on opposing defenses is just a different kind of thing. And then you add the gadget stuff that Savion Williams can give you. The other part of this, and you like, this is, I think, a close cousin of what you're saying, Brandon. What is the vision for Savion Williams? What is the vision? What do they think he can be? Do they think he can be more than just a guy that they can give jet sweeps and play in the Wildcat? Do they think he can play receiver? What kind of things do you think he can do? Well, let's see it. Yeah. Let's see the vision for this team. And that's something that I'm really interested to see in this game. The other thing, and coach, I know you're going to appreciate this. I want to see what the offensive line looks like. Where do they put guys? Jordan Morgan, does he get an opportunity to play left tackle in this game? I would love to see Jordan Morgan play left tackle in this game. I thought, coach, and I don't know if you got a chance to go back and watch the line specifically, I thought Jordan Morgan played his best game as a pro last week at right tackle. I thought he played his butt off, and he's not a right tackle by trade. He's a left tackle by trade. Now, that doesn't mean he can't play right tackle, but he said, I'm more comfortable on the left side. All right, well, let's see it. We saw in the preseason. We talked about it on this show over and over in the preseason in one of the most pathetic competitions in air quotes, like heavy scare quotes on competition. There was not ever really a competition. I want to see him in an NFL game play left tackle. And I think they have the bodies to figure this out. Get him at left tackle. I think Anthony Belton has to play right guard for this team. You got Darian Kennard at right tackle. Can you play Jacob Monk at center? Do you want to play Aaron Banks at left guard, or do you want to play Donovan Jennings at left guard? I mean, I don't know if you want like the whole group of backups if Malik Willis is going to be out there playing hurt. But at the same time, that's another guy that I think, you know, he's not a sexy, position player, not going to light up their fantasy stats, but Jordan Morgan could be the future of this team at left tackle. I want to see what he can do.
You know, I tell you what, that's a great point. I didn't even think about that, but going into this game, and it didn't, again, I hate saying it doesn't matter. It always matters, but like, you have a chance where you can go ahead and manipulate your roster and really see. I think it's a great point, Peter. I really do, to see who can play where, especially up front. Because I'm always a guy like, just let's play the guys where they're supposed to play. But if you have this is really a freebie, right? It's kind of like the end of your preseason. But let's go ahead and just work some guys around, because what you're doing then, Peter, is, and Brandon, you're creating depth. And if you can create depth going into the playoffs, that's always the thing, right? Because it comes down to how healthy you are on your roster. And if you can go ahead and manipulate that this week, I didn't even think about it. That's a great point.
To Peter's point too, Coach, confidence, right? Like depth and confidence, knowing those guys, not only confidence from the coaching staff, but for those players as well, knowing that they can do what is asked of them to do.
Yeah, and Brian Flores is a madman. So you want to, like, if you can handle all of the things he's going to throw at you, the simulated pressures, the zero looks, like, can you get this has been an issue at times over the last couple of years. Okay, you're going to slide the protection to the left. Is everyone going to get the godforsaken call that's the way that we're moving? And the offensive line coach, I know that drives coaches crazy. Like, hey, this is a day one install. We should know all slide left. You should know which way to move in those situations. But so if someone like Jordan Morgan can handle, hey, I've got overload over here, I need to know which way I'm working based on the way that we've drilled this all week. Are we going big on big? Am I taking most dangerous? Like what are our rules this week? What are our keys this week? Who is paying attention in the classroom? I think that stuff matters a lot. And also, guys, I know Chicago is not a great pass rush team. The Eagles are. And so what happens if you get in that wild card run? Let's say you got to go to Philly and Rasheed Walker has an uneven first half, but Jordan Morgan played great in week 18 and you saw him play left tackle. And you've got, Anthony Belton at right guard. You've got Zach Tom at right tackle. Jordan Morgan's on your bench. Do you have more confidence after seeing him do it to say, hey, quick hook on Rasheed Walker. We got to give someone else a shot to do this. And we believe he can do it. This is a great tensile test for that. Like if it's a different team, a different pass rush, and guys are going to go through the look at it. This team is going to throw everything. This is going to be a kitchen sink. I'm auditioning for a head coaching job, Brian Flores situation. If Jordan Morgan plays, left tackle or right tackle, I think that says a lot about where he is as a player in his development.
Yeah. Well, your left tackle is your best guy. And I tell you what, you don't want to, God, as an O-line coach, that's the last thing I want to do is giving the hook to my left tackle. Whew, right? I mean, that's supposed to be your best guy.
And I don't know if Rasheed Walker is your best guy right now.
Well, I don't think he is.
Well, again, like this game would be a good game to do that. I mean, why not? Sure.
There you have it. Our keys to a Packers hopeful victory in Week 18 coming up next each week. We'd love to bring you as close as possible to the Locked On Packers Squad Show and share what we are discussing in our group chat. Don't go anywhere. That's coming up right after this. Today's Locked On Packers midweek edition of the Squad Show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or jumping into player projections for the first time, trying something new can feel like a challenge, but with Prize Picks, it's always good to be right. With high-pressure football matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never slows down, and Prize Picks lets you stay in control. It's the daily fantasy app that makes watching sports even more exciting by letting you build lineups based on player projections. No drafts, no waiting. Just pick more or less and play your way. Download the Prize Pick app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL, and you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, that's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Thank you for making Locked On Packers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Each week, we love to bring you into our group chat, give you the insights into the things we are discussing around our favorite football team. And this week, it's not really any different. It's been a lot of negativity, you guys, in the group chat, but we kind of touched on it a little bit at the beginning of the show. And Coach, you sent a message in the group chat, and I'm going to read it verbatim here. I tried to sit as many guys as I could to be competitive versus the Minnesota Vikings. You also say the problem with that is the number on game day roster is small, and that's something that you've been battling, or you say that coaches have been battling is on game day is the roster size for the Green Bay Packers. The big thing I have for you, Coach, what is your take on Matt LaFleur's current stance right now that no decision has been made yet on resting starters for Week 18 against the Minnesota Vikings?
He knows. He already knows who's going to be playing, who's not going to be playing. But I had mentioned this in the group chat, is like the coaches forever has been, because there's like 53. Just let all 53 be up, because it's a safety issue. They're getting paid anyway. It's not like, well, they're not getting paid. They're all getting paid. So I always thought that to have all those guys up on game day would help for a safety factor, right? So if you have a guy that needs to be it, you have a couple extra guys to be up there. So I think LaFleur knows who he's going to play and who he's not going to play.
Peter, I think everybody needs to play. I think they haven't earned it, and I know that doesn't mean anything coming from me because it is what, I'm just sitting behind a microphone, but I just watched Derrick Henry run all over this team. I think he just ran for another first down. They had 22 of them rushing first downs against the Green Bay Packers. I saw a defense that, you said it, JJ Enyobare called him out after the game and said didn't look like anybody really cared enough in that game. They lost 41-24 against the Baltimore Ravens. I haven't seen Jordan Love. It's gonna, if he doesn't play Sunday against the Vikings, it'll be almost a month since the last time he's played meaningful snaps on a football field. If you had to, if I gave you 5 players, Peter, that you could sit for this Packers game, I'm not sitting any of them, but who cares what I have to say. But if I'm giving you 5 players, Peter, that you can sit against the Minnesota Vikings, who are those 5 players you would choose to sit?
I'm so glad you asked this because I was going to ask you this. I
think
the easiest one is the two injured guys, Josh Jacobs and Zach Tom. Like they're not 100%. So those are the easy answers. And look, like Dontavian Wicks, I think is in concussion protocol, right?
Correct.
And so
that's correct.
That would be another guy that I would sit. Now I'm cheating, right? Because those guys are hurt. And so maybe they couldn't go anyway, but all the more Reason to sit them. Xavier McKinney, I think would be another guy, like you just can't afford to lose that guy. And then after that, it's like probably Christian Watson, just because of the fragility of his career, says like, I have to be worried about that kind of stuff. If I was going to add one more, it would be like, I don't know if you have the bodies to not play Evan Williams, but at safety, like that would be another guy that I'd really like to have for the postseason, who's been dealing with injury, who's been, trying to get in the lineup and be healthy. So I think it's actually easier than you think to find the guys because there's so many guys that are banged up. I mean, that's just the reality of where this roster is. If I were just going to like pick 5 guys that I needed to most protect, it would be like Jordan Love, Xavier McKinney, Christian Watson, Zach Tom, Josh Jacobs. Like that's the 5.
Jacobs should have been sitting for,
and that's probably the 5 guys. Like those 5 guys are probably going to sit anyway. So you know what I mean? So I don't think it ultimately ends up being this roster is not going to look that different. Like Carrington Valentine's going to play. Keyshawn Nixon's going to play. Javon Bullard is going to play. Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper are probably going to play. They don't have enough guys otherwise. So, and they don't play special teams, right? So you need your special teams guys anyway. Do you want Tyron Hopper playing 50 snaps and special teams? Maybe, I don't know. You probably could get away with Hopper and McDuffie as your linebackers. So maybe you sit Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker, but I'd like to see Quay Walker play. Guess what? He was terrible on Saturday night. Terrible. And
maybe the worst game he's ever had, Peter.
Honestly, I think you're right. And I said it on social media. I think it was a game that was so bad, Coach, that it makes you as an organization go, are we sure we want to pay this guy? Because he was brutal in a game where you needed someone to play with some force. And that's supposed to be what he does. He's supposed to be I fly around and I hit people. Yeah. And it was the opposite of that. He looked like he didn't want to be out there.
Yeah, I heard they got all called out. I mean, they watched film and they all got called out, which they should have been, right? Call them on the carpet and say, hey, this is in front of your peers. That's the best thing is peer pressure. And
you got to be able to call it your best players too, Coach, right? Like you have to be able, like if you're Jeff Hafley in that meeting room, you have to say Rashawn Gary, this is just not freaking good enough. Like we probably haven't talked enough about how bad Rashawn Gary was against the Ravens, and we're staring down the barrel of him not being a Green Bay Packer anymore after this season. I mean, I really think
you're not. You're not calling out. You're not calling out backups. You're just not, right? If you're going to make an example of somebody, you do it that the guy that's a consequential guy, a starter. Yeah. So, hey, you know what? This just isn't good enough. So.
Coach LaFleur touched on it a little bit, but you've been in those rooms, you've had those discussions, you've been probably sticking up for your guys before in the past. Peter mentioned it as well. You lose Christian Watson in the season finale last year. That didn't really mean anything. Obviously, it was an NFC North opponent in the Chicago Bears, but you lost Christian Watson to a torn ACL. He missed the first 6 weeks of this season, so that had lingering effects into the next season. Jordan Love banged up his elbow in that game as well. He left early in that game as well. I don't know if that necessarily would have played a big factor into the wild card round for the Packers against the Eagles that year, but how much of what happened last year also goes into the discussion for this year's team, even though, as we've talked about, they haven't won in almost a month.
No, they haven't. But the thing is, losing 3 in a row early in the season, yeah, it's you hate that. But losing 3 in a row at the end of the season, because you want to be playing your best football going into the playoffs. You don't want to be like stumbling into that. And I'd like to just to get them back on the winning ways. We really need to win this ball game this week.
Absolutely. We'll see if the Packers can get it done. Coming up, one final segment, our Locked On Packers midweek squad show. Believe it or not, it's an hour long. It seems like a lot of time, but there's things that we do miss, or there's a few things we just want to get to even more. Extra points and our final score predictions of the week coming up right after this. Thank you for making Locked On Packers your first listen of the day. Believe it or not, guys, the hour-long midweek edition of our squad show, it contains so many great things, so much great content, but there are a few times we forget a point or two, or maybe something we want to revisit. We call this segment our extra points of the week. And if you guys don't mind, I'm going to begin this week. And it begins with Matt LaFleur. And I understand there's a lot of criticism with the Packers head coach and some of the decisions, some of the lack thereof, his game day decisions, his play calling decisions. I understand all of that. I think all of that is fair. I'm not saying that it's not fair. My thing with Packer fans, why doesn't Matt LaFleur get the credit he should get when it comes to the success of Malik Willis? I don't know about you guys, but it feels like that's missing amongst Packer fans. Now, keep in mind, this was a guy, I could be wrong, but I think Bill Polian on ESPN said he wouldn't trust Malik Willis to throw the ball, literally to throw the ball. Brian Gutekunst goes out and trades a 7th-round draft pick. It's a late addition to the summer last year for the Green Bay Packers. And what have we seen since Malik Willis has come into Green Bay? He wasn't trusted to do much in Tennessee. Tennessee gave him away for a 7th-round pick. And all he's done, I know he didn't win last week, obviously the injury to him, and maybe that changes things. But all he's done since he's come into Green Bay, since he's come to this organization, is succeed. And he's going to get paid in the offseason more than likely. I think Packer fans need to appreciate Matt LaFleur in the way that he's able to not only Malik Willis, but Jordan Love as well. And what he's done when Jordan Love came to Green Bay was a big project, right? I mean, beat reporters, people watching Jordan Love in training camp are like, I don't know what they see in that guy. I don't know how he's going to, become a starting quarterback. Guys, he was 3rd in the MVP favorites just a few weeks ago before going into Denver. So I think if you want to criticize Matt LaFleur, my extra point here, just to put a bow on it, criticize Matt LaFleur. That's fine. That's fair. I think he deserves his flowers when it comes to the success we're seeing with Malik Willis. Peter, your extra point of the week.
I'm so glad that you did this because my extra point was going to be that the Packers can't throw away the backup quarterback position anymore.
Yeah.
They have done that for too long. And it is in the NFL now, the extra game in the season, the lack of preseason, your backup's going to have to play. And you need to have a guy that you believe in. And Brian Gutekunst, I know you're going to love this, Brandon. Like it was an inspired move to go get Malik Willis. And I think it would be easy for maybe a cynical fan or even just like someone who's followed the Packers for a long time. Like Jags, Tom Clements has been a coach for so long.
Yeah.
Like he was old when you were coaching with him 20 years ago. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he's like he's Yoda in the quarterback coaching world. And it would be easy to say, well, if Tom Clements is really the big reason why that Jordan loved it. Okay. Well, then explain Malik Willis. And I think that puts in perspective the impact that Matt LaFleur, who by the way, is a former quarterbacks coach himself, has had on this roster. Malik Willis is a terrific story. And by all accounts is an incredible kid. And I hope he gets an opportunity. Like think about him guys in Miami with Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle and Mike McDaniel and the offense that they could put together there. I mean, that would be scintillating stuff there. I hope he gets an opportunity. I hope he gets the Justin Fields contract. Let me do something quickly. Well, I know we're running out of time here. Is Justin Fields not the perfect Malik Willis replacement?
Well, let's table that right now, right?
If you're not watching on video, I don't know where Peter just disappeared to.
Peter,
I'm ducking. I'm ducking.
He's ducking from all the hot takes.
I know, Peter. You always come up with something like that. So here's mine. I know,
not bad though, Peter. I like it.
Brandon, I know that you just had Christmas and your children. You got 5 of them, and I know you want 0 to be your other child. And I want to see. Here's what I want to see this week. He's kind of disappeared, and you know what? If there are guys that are off the roster for the game day, who's up? I'd like to see 0 get fed a bunch and to see what he's at. Because do you really know what he is right now? I don't. I haven't seen it. He's kind of been like Houdini, right? He's kind of like he's disappeared. But I would love, Brandon, for your 7th, 8th child, number 0, to get a ton of tutties this week. I really would. Let's get him the ball and see what he can do. Again, this is the same thing, Peter. You're talking about the left tackle, right? Let's see what 0 can do. Let's put him in some situations where he is the primary receiver. He's the number 1 guy on the read. And just let's see, because I haven't seen anything yet.
Well, we've seen a little bit. Like when he's had to play, Coach, like you go back to that overtime game against Dallas. That was his 4th game as a professional football player. He had the biggest catch, arguably, in that overtime game, like that 4th and 6
down for him.
Right,
but he's got to be given an opportunity. I know Bears fans love to point at the box score and be like, look what Luther Burden's done. Look what Matthew Golden has done. 2 different tales of the tape. Like one guy is getting all the opportunity. The other guy is not. And I understand that's how Green Bay does things. I know that's how they bring in receivers, and we've seen it. You go all the way back to your days, Jags. Like that's just kind of how they do things. He's got to be given a fair chance. I think you make a great extra point of the week because I would love to see it.
Can we put him in a position to succeed? Let's do that. LaFleur does a good job with that, right? Putting his players in a position to succeed. Can we put 0 this week in a position to succeed and just see what that kid can do at a 4.2, whatever it is, right? And let's put the ball in that kid's hands and see what he can do.
Before we not have a drop this season as credited by Pro Football Focus. I can't think of a play where he should have made it.
Well, they haven't thrown it to him more than 4 times, so that's probably a good thing. Right?
And also, Peter will love this. No bubble screens for Agent 0.
No jet sweeps, no bubble screens for Matthew Golden, please.
Our final score predictions. The final regular season game.
Who cares?
Who cares? I care because it's part of the show, Peter, and I put the rundown together, and I put the blood, sweat, and
you're
tears
a purist.
into this.
You're a purist. This is why you're the host. I appreciate it.
I'll start us off. I got Minnesota 23, Green Bay. I don't know who's going to play in this game. I think the Vikings probably do more than the Packers do. I don't know who's suiting up for Green Bay. Quite frankly, don't necessarily know who's suiting up for Minnesota. Maybe we see a full game from Malik Willis. Maybe we don't because of the health of Jordan Love. So we'll see what happens. I think the Vikings get the win against the Green Bay Packers. Coach, what do you got in this one?
McCarthy isn't going to play this game, I don't think. And if he doesn't, I'm going to say 27-10 Packers.
I mean, I would love to see that. I think they want Mike McCarthy. Jeez. They want Mike McCarthy to play quarterback for them. That would be a tough sell.
He can't run.
I think if JJ McCarthy plays, I'm totally cheating on this, but I think if JJ McCarthy plays, the Vikings win by 10, and I think if Max Brosmer plays, the Packers win by 10. That's how I feel about it. I just think that's because I think if McCarthy plays, they will try offensively in a way that they're not capable of if Brosmer is the quarterback. They're just like, it doesn't matter if they try. He stinks. He's not an NFL player. And so, that's the difference to me. So, sorry.
Remember last time McCarthy played? He sucked too against us.
The worst game of his season, probably.
Right. He was embarrassing.
The Vikings, it is worth noting, the Vikings did beat the Lions team, who still had a lot to play for on Christmas with 3 net passing yards. So,
oh my God, it was embarrassing.
Yeah. So it's a great defense there, led by Brian Flores. We'll see if the Packers can get back on the tracks. Friendly reminder, the Locked On Packers Squad Show and Daily Show, free and available wherever you guys get audio podcasts, as well as over on YouTube. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. For Peter, for Coach, and for myself, we will sign off for now. Remember, our guy Peter has got you covered on the Daily Show all week long. How you doing Wednesday, crossover Thursday. He's got you covered. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you listen. Make sure you subscribe. He'll also have you covered Sunday after the final whistle, after the Packers take on the Vikings. And when Peter's done, stick with us. You get an extra 60 minutes of all 3 of us, an hour and a half total of Packers post-game talk right here on the Locked On Packers YouTube channel. Thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in. Thank you for making Locked On Packers part of your day each and every single day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And as always, stay locked on Packers.